Well, thanks so much for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. Super excited.
You came from Raleigh?
I did.
And you are the CEO of Walk West, which for the last 2 years has been the fastest growing marketing agency in North Carolina.
We were very proud of that. One of the things, to just give a little quick background, so I invested in the company in 2015. There was 2 people at the firm at the time, our founder and my partner Brian Honorio, one design engineer. And we sat in Starbucks and I asked him, did you want to do something epic? And he was like, let's go for it, right? And we just started talking and dreaming, and how could we create an amazing agency experience that was different, in that we wanted to be very focused on growing our clients' businesses, not just creating pretty creative. And so the way that we recruited the folks that had joined our team, we have computer scientists on staff, we have data scientists, we have folks that are entrepreneurs, we have people with MBAs from Stanford and from Duke. And we created really a mini consultancy that we look at business problems first, and then we layer creative concepts on top of it. And so we're very aligned with the growth of our clients, and that's been working. And so there was a couple $100,000 in revenue when we started in 2015. We'll probably end up about 7 million now, about 40 folks. And we're pretty excited about the growth, and we're humbled by it. We're humbled that AstraZeneca, $22 billion pharmaceutical company, has picked us. We're humbled that North Carolina State has chosen us to be their agency of record. All the marketing work you see for the North Carolina State Fair is our company. We do a lot of work for some of the folks over at Duke University. There's a $100 million company in Raleigh at Centennial campus called Republic Wireless. We started with one project, now we do about 10 different things for them. And so we kind of stair-step relationships. I was talking to a startup CEO just a minute ago here in the crowd, and we don't really care where we start. If we're good, you'll keep us. If not, you're going to fire us anyway, so do we need a heavy contract? Right? Like, it just doesn't matter, but if we do good, you're going to find more ways that we can do good. And we think that humility plus that kind of excitement about what we're doing has been pretty good. We also have done some work with American Underground in Durham. So they have a pretty big startup hub, about 200 different startups there. So we're part of that startup community, and we kind of keep our eyes on what's going on and go from there. So we're pretty humbled and excited about what we've been able to do.
That's awesome. Congratulations on all that.
Thank you very much.
That's
we're
amazing.
Super excited.
So it's taken you a lifetime to get there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to rewind and start with like your childhood, right?
Yep.
So you were born in Louisiana?
I was born in Bogalusa, Louisiana, and paper mill town, very small town, and about an hour and 15 minutes from New Orleans, if that. And so my parents, and I thank them every single day, if they call and want something, I just give it to them. They both left deep South Louisiana and moved to Connecticut, where they both went to the University of Connecticut, and really changed the kind of dynamic for me and my sister in terms of educational opportunities, in terms of seeing what we could do and be and become.
What year was that? Do you remember?
It was I was born in 71, so it was 70, 69, something like that. It's a long, long time ago. And I was super excited. But yeah, from deep South, from Louisiana.
Yeah, that's a huge change.
Yes.
And what did they do for work?
So my dad is a retired football coach. So he played football at the University of Connecticut, and then he coached at Western Kentucky, University of Pittsburgh, Illinois, UNC, East Carolina. I may be forgetting one or two, but I moved around a little bit as a youngster. I always tell folks, when you're in the football business, if you do good, right, you get bowl trips and rings and money. If you don't do good, you get a U-Haul van, and your kids get to go to a new school and start again. And so I had a mixture of both throughout my growing up, and it allowed me to become very, very comfortable with all different types of people in our country. And one of the things that became a common thread is I had to figure out how to make friends, acclimate to a new environment very quickly, and not always feel left out, or at least pretend that you didn't feel left out even if you did. And so for me, that was sports that helped me always have at least a set of folks that I could at least start the school year knowing a few people in the school and not feeling all alone. And I found that I was pretty good in sports, and I would at least find a couple fast friends to get started, and it made everything a little bit better.
And were you entrepreneurial as a child?
I had a Jolly Rancher business in elementary school.
What does that mean?
So I started out, if you are from the Northeast, there was a company called Woolworths. And I used to go to Woolworths and buy these bags of Jolly Ranchers and sell them for $0.25. And then I figured out if I went to the grocery store, I could buy them by the pound. And so I had a little operation in elementary school, and I got suspended a couple times and because they had rules and regulations and different things. But I was making probably, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks a week at one time selling Jolly Ranchers. Like I had an operation and I was selling candy by the bag, like big bags of candy.
Were you hiring other students?
I had like one other employee. I had an assistant, and it's pretty ridiculous. And so then some other kids got into the candy business, but I had enough cash on hand and enough inventory. So I moved from a quarter, and they came in, they were selling for 15 cents. So I immediately went to a dime, and I still made 100% on my product, but started to push them out of business. So yeah, I was entrepreneurial as a kid. Another story, even younger than that, is while my parents were sleeping after Christmas, I tried to sell all my Christmas toys for cash. And my mom made my dad go through the neighborhood and get my toys back. So I was always looking for a hustle, looking for a grind. So I would say that being an entrepreneur is kind of in my DNA.
What made you want to do that? Did you find value in work from an early age? Were you looking for some spending money? What was that?
I always saw my parents work really, really hard, and we didn't have a lot, but we had enough, is what I would describe, right? Like we never lived in big fancy places. We had just enough because my parents were just super hard workers, and there just was never a day that went by that they weren't working hard to try to provide. But we didn't have a lot of extras. And so money was something that was discussed a lot in the house, but it was never like, we have so much, what are we going to do? Where are we going to invest? It was always like, how are we going to make these choices, right? And so to me, early on, money didn't mean power or prestige or anything like that, but money meant choices to me. Even at a young age, I understood if you had money, then you could choose what you would do or not do. And so that became a motivation at an early age. Not necessarily the material things of it, although those things are nice and I like nice things, but the choices motivated me even coming up.
How do you mean choices? Where to live? What?
Even simpler than that. So when you're a kid, the kind of shoes you wear matters, right? When you're a young African-American kid, and let's say you're growing up in the inner city of Pittsburgh, where we moved to Reisenstein Middle School, the city was Shadyside. And if I didn't have extra money, then I had to wear these shoes called kangaroos back in the day. Like they were nice shoes, but they weren't Adidas, right? They weren't Pony, they weren't Puma, which was cool back then. But if I had extra spending money, I could take what my mom wanted to spend, plus the extra money that I had, and then I could get some shoes that were cool. So to me, it was choices. I could add to what I was already being blessed with, what I was being given, and then I could have that choice. Because my mom was always very fiscally responsible, and she was willing to buy what I needed, right? But she wasn't concerned with the pomp and circumstance of what other people thought, right, we needed to have. Right, so if people had a different pair of jeans for every day, I had 2 pair of jeans, right? They were different colors, right? But they were different. I had 2 pair of jeans, and they were bought a little bit bigger than I was, so I cuffed them up, right? And she was super, super practical. But as a youngster, right? I mean, I wanted to look cool, be cool, and different things. So to me, money was choices earlier, and that's an example of those.
How did you make the choice of where to go to school?
You mean like college?
College, yeah.
So I was a college athlete. High school athlete first, and did pretty well. Played baseball and I would say basketball, but not really basketball. The basketball coach was a friend of mine in high school, and he politely asked me not to come back to tryouts. He basically said, "Don't make me cut you. If you stay out here in tryouts, I'm going to have to cut you. And me and your parents are friends, and that's going to be uncomfortable. Just don't come back." Right? And he was like, "You're really good at football. I see that you're good in tennis. You got great academics. Basketball is not your thing." And so I got really good foundational encouragement and doing that. But anyway, I was pretty good at football. I could run pretty quick, and I didn't mind contact. Right? I liked the physical aspect of football and could throw the ball. So I played quarterback and safety. And so I went to college. Wanted to study finance. Anybody remember the movie Wall Street? Right, Gordon Gekko, suspenders, right? Greed is good, that guy, right? I thought I was going to be that guy, right? And so I was super excited about learning the financial numbers of business, and then I was excited about going to the NFL. So I had 2 tracks. And so I signed to play free safety at East Carolina University in 1989 and study finance. And that's where I decided to go to school. I had Scholarship offers from one Division I program, that was ECU, that was the biggest school that offered me, and a bunch of Division II, Division III schools were excited about what I was doing, and a lot of military academies, right? My grades were really good, and student body president and different things like that. And I remember the VMI recruiter came to my house, and he told me about sleeping on a cot for a year and no girls. And I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. I was like, this is like, I said, you should offer this to someone else. Like, we're not speaking the same language, cot, no girls, and like being a plebe for a year. I was like, that's crazy. And so that's how I ended up in East Carolina.
So it sounds like you had some early accomplishments, right? As a student body president, outstanding athlete. Where did that drive come from? Were your parents models? Because that didn't happen for me.
Yeah, I would say my parents were tremendous role models in what I did, and in all real seriousness, I recognized that the struggles that they had, and if you think about the 70s, if you think now, we still have challenges with race relations and different things, but we're so much more progressive and better than we ever have been, even though we still have a lot of challenges. But if you think back, many, many years, I saw my parents not be able to progress as much as they would have liked to in a very real way, based on background, based on ethnicity, based on gender. But I also appreciated how much they worked. And so one thing that I said to myself is I can work hard. I cannot be lazy. That's a choice. And that was something in our household that was really drilled into how I grew up, right? Like, you give every ounce of effort you have or you don't do it, right? If you decide not to play a sport, that's great. But if you decide to do it, you don't quit, right? If you're enrolled in a class and you need to study, you need to work hard, you need to do the best that you can. If you need help, if you need a tutor, all of those things are fine. But effort was something that that was a personal responsibility. And so I'm very grateful to my parents for that kind of work ethic. And that's a nice way to say it, like they had a standard. And my dad wasn't interested in me not adhering to that standard. And so he had a lot of corrective measures that created me on the right path.
Corrective measures.
Yeah. Both physical, psychological, and all the above.
Do you have kids?
I do. I have 4. Let's see, Mariah, my oldest, just got married. She's 23, so super excited about that and just working through that stuff. My daughter Sierra is a senior at App State, and she's studying communications and productions. She's actually the producer for the App State TV show for their college and doing super great. My youngest son David is a budding personal trainer, real estate tycoon. We're closing on his first real estate transaction in December, and he saved about $15,000, and me and his grandpa are going to go in for his first piece of real estate, and he's at Durham Tech. And then my 4th daughter Diana is a senior at Panther Creek.
Congratulations.
So I've got a good crew. Yeah.
So let's look at after ECU.
Sure.
You graduated with a degree in finance.
I did not graduate. I studied finance for 3.5 years and then decided to kind of chase my entrepreneurial dreams.
Okay.
And I figured out, and some, as I look back, the decision to do that was kind of haphazard, right? It wasn't fully thought through. But I think the roadblocks that resulted as a result of that decision created a toughness that I wouldn't trade for anything, right? Because I had to go on probably 5, 10, 15, 20 more interviews. Think back, now it's not so bad. If you can do the job, you can get the job. The college degree stigma is a little bit different. But 25 years ago, right, if you didn't have a degree, people were throwing your resume in the trash. It was hardcore, right, in terms of go to school, graduate, that kind of societal norm. But I've never been like that. So once I wasn't going to NFL, school got less interesting to me. My finance classes got less interesting. I didn't want to go to Wall Street. I wanted to be the entrepreneur that the Wall Street guys were calling. And so I was trying to figure out how to do that. So I spent some time in network marketing. I spent some time doing some other entrepreneur things, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do and be. And I always knew that I could communicate well, I could sell stuff. So I found a tech company in '96 that would hire me after about a series of a lot of dead-end jobs. I was a security guard, I was a manager at a Dollar General store. I was single-handedly responsible for the mortgage crisis. I worked at a company called Mr. Cash, and we were selling high interest rate mortgages. Like, we would hook you up if you had bad credit. We were not helpful with that. And so I had a lot of interesting jobs before I found a good one, and the bad ones taught me what a good one looked like in terms of a mentor and different things like that.
Yeah. what were some takeaways from kind of that early career where you're bouncing from job to job?
Some of the early takeaways for me is that if you didn't have a mentor to show you the ropes, it takes a lot longer to figure things out on your own. You can do it. You can work your way through it. Experience is a great teacher, but it's a lot faster sometimes to find some people that are willing to show you the ropes so that you can go around the potholes instead of going over all of them. You can get there faster. And so that's one of the huge takeaways that I share with new entrepreneurs or even people that are entrepreneurial in their current job. That finding people that can help you kind of see a couple steps ahead of where you are and not necessarily doing everything you're told, but assimilating what you're told so that you can make better informed decisions, I think is a skill, right? Both you have to have the humility to be able to do that, but you also have the skill to kind of discern when somebody's giving you good advice you should take, or somebody that's giving you good advice that you guys together should create a third alternative, right? And that's something that I've learned over the years that's really, really helped me.
And do you still seek out mentors to learn new things?
Oh, absolutely. You know, success is levels. Success is perspective, right? And there's always somebody that's making more money than you. There's always somebody that's smarter than you, that their business is bigger, more successful. So number one, you have to define what you believe is success. And you got to be comfortable with that, because keeping up with other people is like tiresome, right? Like it's just emotionally unnecessary. But I do have big goals, and I'm a continual learner, and so I have a lot of people that I depend on that I can have a cup of coffee. And we were talking about Chris Hively, a very successful entrepreneur in the Raleigh area, and maybe once or twice a year, Chris, who's done tremendously well, I just can't overstate it, but he'll have a cup of coffee with me and just let me ask him questions. And for somebody that is super successful to be willing to do that, it's one of the reasons I try to do that for others. And what I found is the more successful people are, the more open they are. It's the people that are faking it, that like it's, I'm so busy, all that stuff. People that are really successful realize that they didn't do it all by themselves. And they're usually open to giving a hand up to other dreamers because that give back to them is personal. But I absolutely do. And I have mentors for different things, right? My friends and mentors and people that I'm on boards with, they have different talents. And so some are deeply technical. So when I'm looking at a technical company or I'm looking at an idea, I'll go to them. Some are wonderful with people and leadership and mentorship, right? And I met with a gentleman the other day that is more on the spiritual side of things that I can talk with about things in faith and family and different things. And so I do seek people out. One of the things I've found as I've grown as an entrepreneur and matured as an individual is I've gotten really comfortable with not having to have all the answers. In my younger self, I would get frustrated if I didn't have the answer. And now I know that my job is just to seek the answer. And that's so much more comforting, right? Because when you're seeking the answer now, it's exploratory, it's curious, it's fun. And I don't have that unnecessary pressure that I have to be the smartest person in the room every day. And it's an unnecessary pressure that I no longer have. So I love the mentors that I have and I appreciate them very much.
So what was you're with Walk West now, but you started a company after these kind of dead-end jobs. What was that?
So I was employee number 7 at a company called IQ, and we were an IT engineering services company founded by Grant Willard, a very, very good friend and mentor. And I ran business development for him. He was the engineer, the product guy, and he ran obviously the business. But one of the reasons I worked for Grant is I remember after several interviews, and I had 3 to 4 good job opportunities now. I built my time on dead-end jobs, like I could get a real job now. I had enough experience and different things, and his offer was $10,000 less than 3 other offers that I had in terms of base salary. And I remember talking to Grant and asking him, hey, can we do something about that? I'd really like to work for you, but we just got this small delta we got to deal with, it's $10,000. If we could hook that up, I'd love to work with you. And he was like, no, that's what the offer is. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, are we going to negotiate this? And he said something I'll never forget. He said, listen, we're a conservative company, we're a small company, but we never miss a payroll and we've been growing for a number of years. But we do that because we're conservative with how we invest. He said, but I will tell you something that I don't think other companies will offer you, is I'll teach you how to run a technology business and not just be a sales guy. I'll mentor you. And that sold me beyond belief. He doesn't know it, but I probably would have worked for nothing because I believed what he said. And so I worked for Grant for 10 years. And in 2006, he had created a technology that Adobe Systems wanted. They acquired the technology, but they didn't want the whole company. So Grant and 5 engineers went to San Jose to work with Adobe Systems on the West Coast. And he blessed me and some others with doing a private buyout of the remaining assets of the company that he funded through a self-note. So basically, he held the note, close to $1 million. We paid off that note in 3 years at a profit to the business. We grew that business from 16 people to 140 people and sold that business in 2014. And so, you know what, the scary version to my story is, what if I was lazy on any of the days he was considering my future as a leader? And I think back to my mom and dad, and I think back to work ethic and those things. What if I wasn't giving my best effort on a day he was evaluating me for future leadership? It would have changed my entire life, my outlook. And so that's how I started in entrepreneurship. And when we had that first exit, it wasn't like hundreds of millions of dollars or anything like that, but it gave me what I've always sought with finances, which is choices. And so it gave me the ability to look at businesses and opportunities and different things and decide who I wanted to partner with, what companies I wanted to work with, what kind of people I wanted to work with. And so I stayed with the acquiring company for about 18 months. And then we had a mutual agreement that I was not a big company guy. We all knew it from the beginning. And they were amazing, a company called KPIT out of India. And they wanted me to have a global theater, fly all over the world, pay me lots of money. It was great, but it just wasn't me. You know what I mean? And I had to make a really serious decision. Was I chasing a dollar bill and continual that money, or what was going to make me happy? And I've been in business long enough that I started to really understand who I am, and I'm a builder. Right? Like, I like to find companies with 2 people, 3 people, an entrepreneur with an idea, and help them build something. And then when you build it, you get cash flow positive, and you get that $1 million in revenue threshold, which is really where you kind of move out of the intensive care unit in business, right? And you've got something that's sustainable. And then you get it to 40, 50, maybe 100 people. After about 100 people, I'm not your guy. I'm looking for the next thing, that next journey to build. But it certainly wasn't being an executive in a 10,000 person company. I knew it wasn't that, right? And so made sure that we transitioned things really well. Great relationships. In fact, that larger company subleased part of their office space to one of my new ventures. So you don't have to burn bridges. You can do things in a first-class way and make sure everybody is treated well no matter what you do, and then you keep those doors open for future connectivity. Something like that.
Man, that is so powerful. I could listen to you all day.
Unfortunately, I could talk all day, so be careful. Be careful.
So when you bought those remaining assets, that's something that you probably didn't learn in undergrad finance, right? How did you navigate that? So,
one of the things that when you're building a business, your accounting team, your legal advisory team is really, really important because you'll run into opportunities, you'll run into challenges that you really need advice that sometimes you can't even really afford. And so I've been fortunate. I saw the Forrest firm up there as one of your sponsors, and James Forrest is a good friend of mine, and really super excited about his firm. I remember James when it's just him and he was going out on his own. And he came and sat in my office at one of my companies and asked would I go with him if he left a big law firm. And now he's got 50, 60 attorneys all over North Carolina and crushing it, right? But one of the things that the Forrest firm does, one of the things that Hutch Law does, another law firm that's helped me tremendously over the years in Raleigh, I've had several advisors that have been really great, is sometimes they'll take chances on young entrepreneurs and they won't charge the big fees. Maybe they'll take a little equity stake in different things and they'll help you out. And there's many law firms, and even we do that sometimes as a marketing firm and different things, that they'll see the vision with that entrepreneur and kind of provide some infrastructure that they need. So to answer your question, I didn't learn how to do M&A transactions in business school. I learned by sitting at the feet of Grant and listening and grabbing notes and different things and taking notes while he was on the phone with Adobe Systems and their army of lawyers, right? And I learned from doing and being, and what I figured out is if you build a good business first, a good profitable business, one that can stand the test of time, people will come. If you build a business to flip, you're a lot of times going to take shortcuts. And so then when you go through this thing called due diligence, those shortcuts will be found out, right? So in my opinion, this is my opinion, I'm trying to build businesses that are built to last. And if those magical things happen, then they happen. Or what's wrong with being an amazing employer, right? Walk West in the last 5 years has employed hundreds of people. That's not a bad thing, right? There's been a lot of car payments and mortgage payments and college loans that have been paid back and food that's been bought, and because Walk West is a growing little digital consultancy. And so sometimes you got to be pleased with the progress while you're looking for the big payoff. And those are things over time that, as an entrepreneur, that I try to encourage people to kind of remember, because we're all enamored with, the $100 million exit and all of those things. And all those things are good, and I'm chasing those things too. But along the way, you've got to be excited about getting that next customer, getting that case study.
So I want to open up to Q&A from the audience. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. But before that, could you talk a little bit about the your investing? You do
Sure.
some angel investing?
Yeah, so
what types of companies do you look at?
So I'm invested, thank you, from an angel investor standpoint, I probably have 8 companies I'm invested in that are active now, which is about my threshold. So if something comes across my plate now, it's got to be like super compelling, because now I'm trying to just make sure that the ones I've got going, that they're moving, and some are moving at different levels than others. There's a small marketing firm called Creative Allies that I'm one of the larger investors. It's not competitive to Walk West. Walk West is more traditional consulting, traditional marketing. Creative Allies is in the crowdsource space. They have 100,000 graphic designers. And so if you put in a project within their system, they can give you 50 to 100 designs back, and then you can choose from those. And so it basically merges crowdsource content development with project management and oversight. And it's really focused on businesses that are probably $5 million and below from a marketing standpoint, but they can get great delivery, whether it's videographers, content, design, but they use a crowdsource model. And then they do a lot with live event campaigns. So they'll do design t-shirts for, let's say you're having a live concert festival, and you want new cool designs for the t-shirts you're gonna market at the festival, things of that nature. So that's one of the companies that I work with. Grippers, if you think about football and athletes on the football field, they're usually glove guys or tape guys. And Grippers has a technology and a little product that is over the, what do you call it? It protects your ligaments, as well as gives you the grip on the ball, right? And these are 2 former athletes from NC State that founded this company. They're partnering with NC State, their Tactiles organization, to create this cool technology, and that's grippers.com. And so I'm invested in them. I'm on the board there.
I saw that the COO was just at the NC Idea Summit.
Precious?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah,
she's super cool and super smart. And so they're doing really well. So they're in the kind of the wearable tech space, because they also have technology wearables that will do like sensors for your heat, heart rate, if you've got the sock on, ligament compression, stuff like that. So really cool stuff there. A handful of tech companies that I've put some money into that are doing pretty well. And then I talked about the marketing side. So I'm pretty flexible. My real focus is, do I have a relationship with the leadership that they're going to listen? Some founders just want your check and they really aren't interested in your ideas, which is fine. But I actually like to partner with people and be a little bit more hands-on, and go from there. And then there's a gentleman in Raleigh, North Carolina, David Gardner, very successful investor, and so I put some money in his fund, Co-Founders Capital 2. And so that's kind of about 8 to 10 companies and 1 or 2 funds is about the mix, I would say, as an angel.
Cool. And what are you typically, you're going in like a seed round, right?
Yeah, I would say I'm typically really early. You have a product, couple customers, you have a prototype, only because I'm not investing enough money. If somebody comes to me with something that's a $30 million valuation, like how much money do I have to put in to get like a reasonable payback on my money? And I'm not, Bill Gates or but like that. So I need to take enough risk that as the company grows, there's a significant payback. There's a company called Proposa that does, you guys should go there actually, proposa.com. And basically you can build proposals when you send them out. You actually get notification when people are looking at your proposal. There's a heat map so they know what page in the proposal. There's a really good connective tether as you're pitching and working with your clients. How cool is it when you send out a presentation and then 11 o'clock at night, you know the executive you sent the presentation to not only looked at it, how long they looked at it, what page they looked at. Right, that's cool. Right, so as an entrepreneur and you're sending out a lot of pitches, you want to know that to investors. And so Proposa, we raised probably $250,000 for that business to build version 1 of the product. And we've got close to 200 customers on it. And now we're out looking for kind of that larger round. But I was very early, really at the concept phase, prototype phase. And that's typically where I play right now.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I took a little bit more time tonight than I normally do.
No, that's all right. I hope it wasn't boring. Like, I'm super excited.
But I do want to open up to the audience. So we got maybe 10, 15 minutes. Does anybody have a question? Yep, let me just give you that mic.
Thank you. So, what would be your advice if you are looking for a seed investor? So, if a company's at a conceptual stage, gathering data in terms of viability, valuation, all of those things, and of course all those things have to be put together before you can even consider looking at seed funding. But what would be your advice on the way to go about seed funding?
So the question is, what advice would I have if you're looking at developing or getting seed funding? And I do have a pretty strong perspective here. I'm going to give you an actual example of a company that we're incubating within Walk West. Right? I'm not going to tell you the name or the concept just right now, but one of the things that we're doing, in fact, Chris Hively reinforced his advice for me about a year ago. A lot of times people build their product before their research is complete. They build their product before their research is complete. What your seed investors want to know is, what is the true market? Sure. What is the potential return? Sure. They want to know what potential customers think about what you're offering. And if you talk to 100 of them, you know. So what you need to do for that seed investor is talk to 100 people about your concept before you're building something. Talk to 100 people in your target market. Understand what their pain is, what they're thinking. Walk them through your PowerPoint, your deck, or your clickable prototype. When you gather that feedback, now that market research that you've done is now powerful to that seed investor because you've de-risked their decision. Everybody is looking for how do you de-risk a risky decision, if that makes sense, to increase the odds of success. So number one is make sure that you've done your homework and your research, and that's talking to people in your market. A lot of times entrepreneurs fall in the trap of falling in love with their own idea. You talk to 100 people, there's going to be a handful of them that don't laugh in your face, but they're laughing. They don't think it's good, they think it's ridiculous, and do you keep going, right? So that research teaches you that toughness. How much do you believe? The other piece is it teaches you how to talk about your concept in a way that gets the idea across quickly, right? And that's also very important. And then the third thing that research does is it helps you on pricing. The most complicated thing for a new entrepreneur is how much you're going to charge. If you don't know how much you're going to charge, and that's based on some reality, how can you make any of your numbers work? All of your numbers get blown up if you don't know how to charge right. And that's what you got to talk to people to understand what they're willing to pay. And then once you get those couple of things right, now when you build your deck for that seed investor, you're going to pitch it with more confidence, because even though you don't have the experience of having built it, you have the experience of having to talk to those 100 people about your idea, your concept, your prototype in the exact markets you're going after. You now are as close to an expert as possible for something that is brand new or derivative work. And so you're preparing yourself for that seed investor conversation. The second thing is, don't make your deck full of things that you can't defend. Tell me things you don't know. It's fine. It's a seed investor. I already know that. The big tell of somebody I'm not going to put money in is when they try to debate me on things that are unknowable. The answer is we got to find that out. The answer is we got to test. The answer is I'm still exploring that. The answer is not trying to convince me that you know something that you don't. And so those are just some of the things that over the years as I've pitched, I've been on both sides trying to seek capital and different things. And then also on the other side where people are pitching me their ideas, that I really think about. The other thing with seed investors is they want to know the team you've assembled that believes with you. Who's your advisory team? And here's really critical. You've got a wonderful advisory team, why haven't they put in money? Oh, they believe in the concept. No, they don't. Checks. So you need an advisory team to put in money. If you have 7 advisors that put in no money, 2 advisors that put in money that believe with you, 2 is better. Because if you got 2 other people to believe with $25,000 checks, $10,000 checks, they don't have to be $100,000 checks, but somebody wrote your company's name on a check, gave it to you so you could cash it. That's what I want to see. Because I don't want to be the only one, I don't want to be the first one. I don't want to be only, I don't want to be first. I was talking to the CEO of a company I'm on the board with, and they need some more money. They've hit some turbulence. And I've put some money in, but I'm like, it's not going amazing, right? It's still got good hope, but it's not going amazing, right? And so they're like, Don, they use some cool words, Don, what's your capacity to reinvest? I was like, my capacity to reinvest alone is 0. My capacity to join a group of people that reinvest is probably pretty high. But nobody wants to be the lone sheep, right, in something that's a little bit risky. But hopefully, is that helpful?
It is, thank you.
You're welcome.
My question is sort of about risks too.
Sure.
We were talking earlier about the risk of the company owner who won't spend the $15,000 a month on marketing.
Yeah.
Can you, I don't know whether to talk about it in terms of your investor mentoring or whether from the client side, but can you walk us through how you help, a couple of examples of how you've helped somebody overcome the cost of not acting?
Yeah, so the question is how do we help people overcome the costs of inaction, right? The opportunity cost. Sometimes you can. A lot of engineers, really methodical thinkers, they got to learn it on their own. And he might be one of those individuals, right? And I'm going to answer your question in a minute, but sometimes I stop trying because they just have to experience the slow growth enough to finally get the confidence to take that risk, because they just have to see it. It's just got to be their idea. And I don't try to convince people against their will to do anything that they don't want to do, right? Now, somebody that's unsure and just looking for enough evidence, then I get them to test. I don't try to get them to do the 10 or 15 or $20,000 once. I just say, look, this is the plan I think you should be on, but let's try, fail, and adjust with 10% of that money, 20% of that money. And when you see the benefits of that, then we're going to tweak it a little bit more, and you're going to build faith, you're going to build confidence, you're going to build strength over time. Those are the folks that want to do it. They want to do it. They want it to work. They want me to be right as a marketer, as a partner, but they just need a little more evidence to go bigger, a little more evidence to go bigger. That is okay. That's smart, right? I mean, that's okay, because now they're in the arena. And then it puts pressure on us as marketers or as advisors to help them really see that value to continue to go and to trust. That person's more open-minded. They just need a little bit more evidence to go bigger, faster. 2 different kinds of folks.
How do you differentiate marketing to sell versus marketing to build a brand, and how do you sort of mix the 2?
All right, so this is a great question. The question is, how do you differentiate between marketing to sell or marketing to build a brand? It's really tough, and we're experiencing this right now at Walk West with our company, so I will talk to you just from our personal struggle, right? And hopefully that answers the question. And we're a marketing firm, right? When we've tried to market to sell, it hasn't worked as well as when we amplify what our capabilities have done for our clients, which is market to brand. One of the things in today's economy, with all of the noise, all of the ads, all of the things that are trying to get your attention, my attention, is people are super skeptical, and with good reason. Sometimes people are super skeptical and there's no basis for it, right? Afraid of their shadow, but super skeptical, like with good reason, right? There's just a lot of scams out there. There's just a lot of different things out there that aren't delivering the value. So what you have to find in marketing today is an authentic message that can really hook in with your target market. And one of the things that we did with our client with Public Wireless, I'll use them for example, they understood media spend, right? TV, social spend, different things, but they really didn't understand how to incorporate video and storytelling into their marketing mix. So we got them to just carve out a $30,000 investment. They're a $100 million company. So $30,000 investment. But with that $30,000 investment, we did persona research on their target market. We got them 800,000 end-to-end video views. Not people clicked on it. 800,000 people in their demographic viewed the video that we produced for them because we built their brand. That with Republic Wireless, you're going to save money. With that saved money, you also have a wireless phone, but you also have money to invest into your financial future, for a trip, for your kid's college education, for your grandchild that's just born. This saving money means more than just $100 a year. That $100 a year invested in your future gives you a payback. Why overpay for your cell phone service when you can get the same quality service from Republic Wireless, but you can use that extra money to chase your goals and dreams? We created a connective tissue with their client base. That's branding. That's storytelling. And that is significantly more powerful than trying to get clients to buy. And that's what we've had to do with our marketing agency. We've had to turn, instead of saying, I can build you a website, it's the best website. I can do PR and it's the best PR. I can do content strategy and it's the best content strategy. What I have to now talk to you about is that we're working with North Carolina State University and establishing their MBA program on the same peer level as the dudes, the NC States of the world, and we've upped their applications by 60 to 70%. So Marketing Walk West has to be other-centered about the people that we helped and we created value with the money they entrusted us with. And so we really started to focus on the brand building, the storytelling, that authentically will then bring people to you to understand how you could do that for them. And that's just been an evolution for us as marketers in our own company, what we're doing for clients. And so I'm much more on the brand storytelling side, but we coin a phrase, or we use a phrase, data-driven storytelling. It's not just a story that sounds good, it's a story that's tightly aligned with the demographic you're trying to emotionally connect with. And that's what we try to do each day. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah.
And follow up if you don't, if it...
I plan.
Okay.
I think we've got time for like one or two more questions.
Just a follow-up to the question, thank you. How do you avoid, with authenticity being so important in messaging, your own authentic voice and your own passion for the business, not confusing your messaging and like interfering as noise, like coming across to the customer and getting in the way of just your own success, like getting in the way of your own self?
Yeah. Again, we've had to work through some of this. So these are great questions. You always want to, and here's another example. Our company for the last 2 years has been recognized by Inc. 5000 as the fast growing agency in North Carolina. We're very proud of it. But we got to stop saying it. We're proud of it. It helps us with recruiting, and it's like you can't not say it. It's a big enough thing. Like it's cool. It's real. We didn't make it up, right? So we've got to be proud of it. But that can't be the driver, is promoting self, right? The driver in most of our marketing that's working is that we are becoming a teaching organization. So when I talk to you about Walk West has a social media certificate program that we've partnered with Wake Tech because we believe that everybody deserves great marketing. And so we have some of our professionals that bill out at $200-300 an hour teach a social media certification course at Wake Tech so that people that want to grow their career in marketing can learn from the best. That's different than me telling you I have amazing experts. I'm telling you how those experts are deployed. I'm telling you to give back that those experts deliver. We're talking about clients and how when we integrate with client work, We have a client right now, it's called CAI. And you guys, this one, we're super proud of our relationship with them. They do HR on demand for small businesses. So let's say you've got a 10-person firm, a 50-person firm, and you need more HR support. They basically have a collection of HR consultants that you can leverage on demand for like $200 a month, $500 a month. They have like 1,300 clients in North Carolina. We do marketing for them. They have a need in marketing as they're building out their own marketing team. But marketing is a tough thing to fill right now in terms of talent and retention. So they use one of our executives as their interim CMO, and then they're interviewing 2 of our employees next week to be their interim marketing manager. So no, they don't need a $20,000 a month retainer, but they do need our support. So we're going to provide marketing and strategy support to them at the level they need it, because our goal is to help them grow and win in the marketplace. So now when I tell you that story about CAI, I'm telling you about Walk West. I'm telling you how we care about our client. And you've got to find a way to get yourself out of the way and make 85% of your story about the clients you serve and 15% about what you do to serve the client. And then people will naturally make that connectivity. And it's hard because we all want to brag on what we're proud of. Like, I'm so proud of our team and our growth and like all the different things. But you gotta pull that back, and you gotta make your clients the superstars. And making your clients the superstars, and if you don't have a lot of clients, for very startups, then you make the problem you're solving the superstar. That's okay too, right? What are you doing to make the world a better place with your technology, with your platform, with your new plumbing business? Like, what are you doing? Like, if I had a new plumbing business, right? I wouldn't talk about I'm the best plumber. I would be like, listen, everybody's got clogs in your life. We help you get rid of them quicker. Everybody has a clogged up sink sometimes. People can relate to it. I'm going to help you get rid of yours. And that mindset, I think, is pretty critical in marketing today. And we've had to learn that and get it in our DNA. And we fall into the trap about wanting to brag on self just like everybody else, and we got to check ourselves and get that fixed. That's not where our marquee clients are coming from. They're coming from how we've helped customers and that evidence.
Last question.
Hey, I have a fundraising question.
Sure.
And but I think it ties in really nicely with selling your brand. So I'm an athletic director at a local private school,
Awesome.
private Christian school, and I'll just be frank. We're about to finish up a facilities project, and we need about $25,000 to wrap that up and be ready to go for the spring. So as far as selling your brand at this time of year, being at mid to late November, do you suggest we target maybe some companies who you'd be able to do sponsorships and again sell that brand, and they're ready to, I hate to say unload, but offer some investments with that type facility? Or is it more your constituents that we know and that know us, but yet they still need to hear the message and feel good about contributing?
So it's a great question. One of our clients we just signed is the UNC Rams Club. They need money too. But they're chasing bigger dollars than probably you are, but it's the same symptom. How do you get your community that's around you to be activated to help you solve the problems or the goals that you have, right? And one of the things I would specifically advise to you is, what are the people that you're trying to target need? Now let's just pretend for a minute, right? I'm a world-renowned business speaker, right? Let's just pretend. And you've got a lot of business owners that want to understand how to chase growth in 2020. Events are really powerful. Have events that give your constituency something that they want, that they can put in their budget that's round-off error for them, that they can expense towards year end, right? That gives them also a business benefit. A lot of times when people are in nonprofits, we work with, we were really looking at this, we've worked with like 25 associations and member organizations over the last 12 to 18 months in our business. And so a lot of it is fundraising and member engagement and things of that nature. And a lot of times membership organizations think because their cause is good, people will give. It's not enough. Because you're competing with thousands of organizations that have a great cause that are pulling on the same thing, so it's super competitive. And so you've got to attach to the community that you want to motivate to give something that they need, will be motivated by. And live events are still super cool, right? To where you can create that connective tissue where you have that speaker come in, you have that entertainer come in, whatever the case may be, and Now all of a sudden you've created something fun for them to go to, their employees, different things like that. You could, one of the things that we did with our friends at the Forest Fund, they're a B Corp, so part of their business is to do social good. And so what they did was they were a part of a team that auctioned off free marketing services. They wanted to raise money. And our company did free marketing services, and the organization that won was Samaritan Health. Samaritan Health in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, they do free health care for people who don't have insurance. My point is, you can think about events or causes like that you can kind of marry things around that make your giving request different than just, hey, we need $500 for a new facility, and create some creativity to it, some fun to it, some different things like that. Is how I would start the ideation process without knowing kind of the specifics of your demographic. The other thing is matching donations are powerful, right? You get one person that can't do it all, but they can do enough that they now can challenge others, right? I gave $1,000 of this 25 others. I'm looking for 25 partners that want to go with me, and we're going to spend time on the front row at the next Davidson basketball game and have dinner with the coach and talk basketball. We've got signed jerseys from Seth Curry, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, right, that you have within your power and ability to do. But you find that one or two givers to create that catalyst, and then you use that because what? Nobody typically wants to be first. But everybody wants to join something and not miss something that's super cool. And those are some of the types of ideas that we share with our clients in the nonprofit space, in the giving space, in the academic space. And everybody has cool things, and most of the time around sports and egos, people like access. Right? This is amazing what you can do, man, if you get a couple cool tickets to something and different things where you can create access and special that uniqueness. I appreciate the question very much.
Donald Thompson, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.